Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. We are actually in week 3, our final week of our series called Love Over Hate. And today I want to ask you a question. And that is, have you ever had a moment where a friend said something or had a conversation with you that was really awkward, but you're so glad that they said what they said? I mean, just think about it. Here's some examples. Number one is maybe you had food in your teeth, like you're eating at Taco Bell with your friend, and you had your burrito and everything, and you start to walk out and you're smiling, grinning like real big, and they're like, man, you've got like this piece of lettuce like stuck between your teeth, and you're so glad that they said something, because how embarrassing would that be if you showed up and all your friends saw that little piece of lettuce in your teeth? Or maybe it's this, your fly is down, like you didn't pull your zipper all the way up on your pants, and you're so glad your friend said something and didn't just let you walk out in front of everybody like that. So you're so glad they had that conversation. Or this may be the worst one. You have a booger hanging out your nose. Like, how awkward is that? You're sitting at a table with your friends and you've got this big crusty booger, and it would be so easy for them just to say, I didn't see it, and just ignore it. But you're so glad they said, dude, you got something right here, and you're so thankful they said something. Or maybe it's this, the person you are talking about is walking up behind you and they awkwardly cut in and change the subject, and you're like, what's going on? But you're so glad that they did, because it would have been so embarrassing and such a big issue if they hadn't. So there are times when we're really glad that our friends have the guts to say something, even though it's awkward or hard to have that conversation. But there's also a lot of times when it's a more serious issue that we really hesitate to say anything at all. And there's several reasons why we do that. Reasons we don't speak up. Number one, we don't want to ruin a relationship. Like, we've been friends with this person since like kindergarten. And we're in high school now and they're dating this person, and you don't want to say anything because you don't want to ruin the relationship. Or maybe it's this, we don't want to seem like a hypocrite. Like, we know we've got our issues, we've struggled with maybe the same thing that you see in them, and you don't want to be a hypocrite. Or maybe it's this, we don't know what to say. Like, how do you start that conversation off? Like, how do you have a conversation that goes from a Netflix series that you're both watching to, hey, I need to talk about some things I see in your life right now? Like, that's a hard transition, so we don't know what to say. And maybe the biggest one is we don't want to seem judgmental. Like, we don't want to be the person that's judging other people. Like, we just don't. In fact, we kind of think it's their life. Who am I to judge them? And if anybody else says anything, you're like, hey, it's their life. Why are you judging them? And that's kind of the attitude that we have in our culture today, is that, hey, let people do what they want to do, no matter what. I mean, it's their life, let them live it. But here's what I want to say is this. Is it unloving to confront someone who is making unhealthy, unwise, or dangerous choices? Is it unloving if you care about someone to confront them when they're making an unhealthy, unwise, or dangerous choice in their life? If you see a pattern develop, is it unloving? I would say absolutely not. In fact, I would say that if you see a friend that's in an unhealthy relationship, you should say something. Like, if you notice that they're being verbally abused or maybe physically abused, you should say something. You don't just say it's their life, they're making the choice, let them do what they want to do. Another example is they're sending or posting inappropriate pictures, and that's going on so much right now. I know some of you are probably doing it, but you notice a friend that's starting to send pictures to their boyfriend or their girlfriend, and you're like, man, that shouldn't be, you know better than that, but you don't want to have that conversation. Is it unloving if you confront them? I would say no. If they're posting things online that concern you, like they start reposting and retweeting stuff that you think, man, that's just not like them. Like, they're starting to follow people and repost things that they used to not agree with, and you don't want to say anything. I think it's unloving not to say something. Another thing, if they're cutting themselves, like, it's really easy to justify it and say, I don't want to get them in trouble and I don't want them to stop talking to me, and they just broke up with their boyfriend and girlfriend, and their parents are going through a divorce. I'm sure they'll get over this and stop it pretty soon, and you just don't want to have the conversation. I would say that's what's unloving if you don't have the conversation. If they're abusing drugs or alcohol, A lot of times we're like, oh, they'll get through it. They're not going to get hurt. I'll watch out for them. But when they're drinking to the point they pass out, or when they're so addicted to drugs that they can't go without it for a day or two, like, is it unloving to confront them? I would say absolutely not. Avoiding hard conversations is what's unloving. Like, when you really love someone, you really care about someone, you care more about that person than you do the friendship. And that sounds so strange, but think about it. When you really love a friend, you care more about them than you do the friendship. Like, you do what's right even if you lose the friendship. If you see them hurting themselves or allowing someone to hurt them, yeah, they may get mad if you say something or get someone involved, but you know it's the right thing to do. That's what you do when you really love someone. So I want us to look at what the Bible says about how should we approach people when they're dealing with something like this. So Galatians chapter 6, verse 1 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin," and we don't like to use this word sin, but that's the biblical word for anything that goes against what God says is right for us to do and what's wrong for us to do. And He gets to decide that. And I know we live in a culture where everybody thinks they can decide what's right and wrong for themselves. But as followers of Jesus, our truth is found in what God says because we trust that He wants what's best for us, that He created us and He knows how we're supposed to function and how we're supposed to treat ourselves and treat each other. So when someone is caught in a sin, overcome by some sin, He says, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. So we do this in a gentle and humble way, understanding that we're not just calling somebody out in front of all of our friends. We're not just, putting them down and trashing them. We are actually gently approaching them in private, having a conversation, not acting like we're better than them, but we're wanting to help them get back on the right track. Because everybody's on a path in life. The Bible's clear about that. And we all get off the right path sometimes. And we need each other to help each other get back on track when we get off track. But He also says, and be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. So He says, listen, when you're helping someone, be careful, because it's easy to be drugged down into those same things. But what I want you to see is what He says next. He says this, He says, share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. So this idea of sharing burdens, that we don't just call people out and say, hey, you're wrong. You need to quit doing that. That's not right. You also come alongside them and say, hey, let me help you. Let me be a part of the solution. Let me walk with you through this. So the best way I can show this is if you've ever been in a weight room, if someone's lifting weights, a lot of times you'll have someone back here called a spotter. And the whole point is if this person needs help, they help them. So if they start to struggle a little bit, you just take your hands and you bump it up a little bit, and you'd be amazed at how much that helps. And sometimes they may get in trouble and need a lot of help, and you may have to pull it up really hard. But the idea is you help them carry the weight. And that's the picture of what the Apostle Paul is saying in this passage of Scripture, is that we should help each other carry the weight of trying to overcome sin, and overcome struggles, and overcome habits that they struggle with, that we actually walk with them through this. So we don't just point fingers, we share burdens. I love that. Think about that. We don't just point our finger at people, we share burdens. We walk with them through the struggle. We help them through it. So here's what I would say, and this is kind of the big thing I want to wrap up with, is this. Let love be your filter. Let love be your filter. And by that I mean, most of you have been on Snapchat or Instagram, and you can put different filters on your photos, and they make things look different. Well, the filter that we're called to use as followers of Jesus is love. That we should view every situation, every conversation through the lens of love. So there are just a few ways that we can do this. We let love be the filter for first of all, your involvement. Like before you get involved and have that conversation, you need to see what your motivation is. Let love be the filter. The reason that I want to confront this person out of love. Do I really want to help them? Am I willing to walk alongside them? So that's the first area, is in our involvement before we actually have the conversation. The second is with our words. Let love be the filter for our words. That is this loving? Not just is it true. We're called to speak the truth in love, not just to be brash and to hurt people's feelings, because some people are built like that. Some of you are like, man, I don't mind having those conversations. I would say if you're looking forward to those conversations, you're probably not ready to have that conversation, or you're not the right person. These conversations are difficult, and they shouldn't be something we look forward to. It's something that we feel like we have to do because we love that person. So first of all, we let love be the filter for your involvement, for your words, and lastly, for your actions and your reactions. Like what you're willing to do to help them, and how you're going to respond maybe if they don't respond the right way. Like you should respond in a way that's loving. You should help them in a way that's loving. You should offer solutions that are loving and not critical. So I just want to encourage you to think about this. As we think about this idea of that we live in a culture that likes to hate on people, that likes to put people down, that likes to look for the worst in people, we've been called to love. And our filter for everything we do and everything we say is to be love. You guys have a great day.